Millionaire and homeless black man meets Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Claire never thought her day would start this way. Talking about Elon Musk and Donald Trump, of all people. But here she was, sitting on a cracked sidewalk bench in a tiny town that barely noticed the world outside its borders. Rumors always floated around her about strange meetings or wild stories. But today's was different. Today, she was part of one. It began when Lucas Reed showed up out of nowhere. Not the polished billionaire everyone read about, but a lost man with a broken-down car, stranded in the middle of nowhere. His fancy black SUV sputtered to a painful stop right outside the diner where Claire took shelter. People glanced, whispering, "Wealthy man stuck in the wrong place," someone said. Others scoffed, "Bet he don't know what real struggle means." Claire kept her distance, but her curiosity crept in like a shadow. She stood up, wiped her dirt-smudged hands on her torn jacket, and approached. Lucas looked embarrassed, frustrated, a man who had everything yet felt empty. His hands trembled as he popped the hood. Claire's fingers, rough and steady from years in survival mode, moved quickly beneath the hood. She caught the faint scent of his cologne mixing with the scent of gasoline and rust. "You're the millionaire everyone's gossiping about," Claire said, voice low but firm. Lucas blinked, surprised. "That obvious, huh?" She shrugged, lips tight. "You don't belong here." "Neither do I. But looks like we're stuck together for a minute." The car coughed one last time and went silent. Claire's hands worked with practiced ease, tightening a loose wire. As she did, she watched Lucas closely. Beneath the expensive clothes, she saw hollowness, like a deep well that never filled. His eyes carried a tired loneliness that mirrored hers, a hunger for something real. But trust? That was a different story. Claire's scars weren't just skin deep. They cut through hope, faith, every tiny spark that tried to light her way. She wanted to believe Lucas's kindness wasn't a trick, wasn't another game played by those on top to pull her under. Then, just as the car roared back to life, a sharp knock at the diner window caught their attention. A shadow lurked there, a face Claire hadn't seen in years but never forgot. The past slammed into her chest, breath caught, hands trembling. Danger was creeping close, silent but deadly. People outside whispered, eyes turning sharp and cruel. Lucas noticed her freeze, a flicker of worry breaking through his calm. "Who is that?" he asked, voice almost gentle. Claire didn't answer right away. She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat pushing up like a stone. This was no ordinary meeting. This was the start of something messy and raw. The kind of story where nothing is safe. Not love, not trust, not even the hope of a better life. The question hovered in the cold air, heavy and real. Could Claire take the risk of trusting Lucas? Could he see past her wounds and accept her truth? Or would their fragile connection shatter like glass, leaving nothing but cracks and silence? As the evening fog crept in, swallowing the edges of the town, their uncertain future waited just beyond the trembling shadows. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As the evening fog crept in, Claire felt a tight knot in her chest. The sinister presence outside the diner made her heart race. Was it just nostalgia? Or was it something worse? The flicker of that familiar shadow outside the window grew more distinct. The face, dark hoodie, jagged beard, an unwanted echo from her past. The whispers around them pulsed like angry bees. Isn't that the way it can't be? Lucas's brow furrowed, picking up on her tension. Who is it? He pressed, eyes darting toward the window. The shadow shifted, edging closer, its intentions unclear. Claire knew she had to say something. But as words, coated with years of fear, clung to her throat, she felt a wave of despair wash over her. It's someone I used to know, not someone I wanted to see again. Lucas leaned in closer, as if he could somehow shield her from whatever storm was brewing. Outside, are they dangerous? His gentle concern cut through the thick air between them. Before she could answer, fear spun like a wild wind through her and set alarms ringing. The figure outside suddenly lunged forward, slamming a fist against the glass. The sound shattered the quiet, echoing like a gunshot through the diner. Claire's stomach dropped. She felt every onlooker turn, their expressions merging shock with curiosity. "Claire!" The voice was strained, almost desperate. She flinched. That name, her name, dropped like a stone. She shook her head violently, as if that could erase him. "Don't! You shouldn't be here!" Lucas peered at her, eyes wide with confusion and rising disdain for the scene unfolding. "Who is he?" Just someone I thought I left behind." Claire shot back, her voice tinged with panic. This was not just a blast from the past. This was a threat, one she never could have predicted. In the collective silence, the weight of Claire's past bore down on her. The angry figure pressed harder against the glass. Mouth moving rapidly, words she couldn't hear but felt piercing her soul. And then, something unexpected erupted. A gunshot rang out. Claire's heart stopped. The world twisted. The figure outside staggered back, clutching his shoulder. Gasps echoed through the diner. A single, collective intake of breath that drew life from everyone present. The pale glow of the diner's neon lights glinted off something dark. "Call 911!" someone screamed. Lucas's mouth was agape. What the hell just happened? Claire's blood chilled. The realization hit her in waves, crashing over her. She had unwittingly pulled Lucas into her chaotic world. And as she clutched her hands, trembling not just from fear, but from the shame of everything that had just unraveled, she could feel the fragile thread of their connection begin to unravel. With the growing panic outside, Claire's mind raced. She had to protect Lucas. But how could she explain everything now? Each second felt like eternity, pressing the truth down, shoving emotions further into the dark. As they all stared, stunned, The sirens grew louder in the distance, creeping closer, blurring the edges of reality. Did Lucas see her differently now? The weight of her secrets hung heavy between them, thickening with every heartbeat. "Claire, tell me the truth," Lucas said, his voice low, steady, searching the depths of her eyes for answers that seemed to dissolve like smoke. She wished she could lie. But just then, the past and the present folded together, creating a new reality, a moment so intense it shattered everything she thought she understood. What would his reaction be when he learned the secrets binding them? Would they become allies or enemies in this mess? As the sirens screeched nearer, the wind howled like a beast hungry for revelation, waiting to see if Claire would finally expose her truth or let it consume her whole. The evening fog thickened, wrapping the diner in damp silence. The shadow at the window shifted. Claire's heartbeat thundered in her ears. His voice, steady but tinged with worry, broke through her frozen thoughts. "Who is that?" She couldn't tear her gaze away. The figure, an unmistakable silhouette, stepped into the light. A crooked smile stretched across a face she thought she'd left behind. Danny, her brother, the one who disappeared without a trace. A ghost come back to haunt her. "What are you doing here?" Claire whispered, a mix of disbelief and dread tightening around her throat. Danny approached, hands shoved deep into his tattered jeans. He looked older, worn. His eyes darted, scanning the parking lot, then settling on her. "I've been looking for you, Claire. We need to talk." Lucas's presence seemed to vanish in that moment, his world of wealth and ease crashing into the gritty reality of Claire's. She felt exposed, vulnerable. Conversations from years ago rushed back. "Forget him, Claire. He's a lost cause." The anger bubbled under the surface, fighting to escape. "I don't want anything to do with you," she said, her voice sharper than she intended. His smile faded, replaced by concern. "You don't understand. It's serious. We're in trouble." The diner patrons watched, whispers curling in the smoke of the deep-fried food. Claire's stomach churned. What kind of trouble? But before Danny could answer, a loud crash echoed through the parking lot. Claire's heart leaped as glass shards exploded. A group of men in dark hoodies stormed in, faces obscured, intent clear. They moved like a pack of wolves. "Get back!" Lucas shouted, arms instinctively shielding Claire. But she felt paralyzed. Danny grabbed her arm, pulling her closer. "We need to go, now!" The chaos surged. One of the men shoved a diner patron aside, a sharp shout that sliced through the thick tension. "Lucas es ice, mi roe fiel." They both scanned for exits, but the growing group encircled them, a tightening noose. "What do they want?" Claire breathed, fear gripping her. "You didn't hear?" Danny replied, urgency lacing his voice. "It's about the money. The money we lost, Claire. They're here for you." The words were a punch to her gut. "What do you mean?" "Your name's been tossed around, okay? People think you got something, and they want it back. Lucas's frustración tangló con Claire's pánica." "You need to elaborate. Fast!" But before Danny could speak, a figure from the pack stepped forward, his face partially hidden. "You owe us, Claire, and we're not leaving until we collect." A cold tremor ran down Claire's spine. Ties she'd thought severed yanked her back into a past she fought so hard to escape. The cryptic messages, the shadows that followed, they were all connected. Lucas's eyes widened, no longer merely observing, but part of something bigger, darker. "What are you involved in?" he demanded, a hint of betrayal lurking beneath the urgency. Claire's throat felt dry, and words tangled as the truth loomed, ready to consume everything she knew. In that moment, the connection she'd begun forging with Lucas teetered on the edge. Trust eroded, hope dwindling. As the thugs moved closer, intent seeping into the air like smoke, Claire squeezed Danny's arm tighter, searching his eyes for the answer she craved. But all she saw were reflections of her past and the shadows closing in. The air crackled with tension. Everything felt about to unravel. What awaited them in the night was a truth so harmful, it threatened to shatter the fragile world they just began to build. Would they survive this storm together? Or would the shards cut deep, leaving them lost in the chaos? The air crackled with tension, thick and electric. The men in dark hoodies moved closer, and everything felt surreal. Claire squeezed Danny's arm, eyes darting from him to the thugs, panic flooding her veins. Lucas estuvo por ahí, la casa clavada como una barrera que amenazaba atropellarlo. "Claire," Danny hissed, urgency sharp in his voice. But before he could finish, one of the men entered the motion that sent Claire's pulse racing. "You've got something our boss wants," the man growled, his eyes glinting with menace under the dim diner light. The words crashed into Claire, and fear twisted in her stomach. What did they want from her? She had nothing but the remnants of a life she barely understood. "I don't know what you're talking about," she shouted, her voice trembling as if to drown out her fear. The leader stepped closer, his face half hidden. "Then you better start thinking." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again. A loud crash echoed from the back of the diner. Then, amidst the chaos, a figure barreled through the kitchen door, squeezing through the narrow space, throwing pots and pans to the floor. It was a cop, badge gleaming, voice booming. "Everyone freeze! Hands up!" Pandemonium erupted. The thugs scrambled, but Claire's world spun faster. Danny turned to her, eyes wild. "I didn't expect this," he yelled. "I didn't either," Claire snapped back, heart pounding, struggling to process the scene unfolding. Lucas's body tensed beside her. "What's this about, Claire?" "I deserve to know," he said, urgency mixing with hurt in his gaze. But the words were lost in the upheaval. In the frenzy, one thug lunged for the back door, but there was a loud bang. Gunfire. Another shot. Cracked, piercing through her thoughts like lightning. "Get down!" the cop shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Claire ducked, pulling Lucas and Danny low as bodies hit the ground around them. Heart racing, she fought to breathe. Then everything went still. An eerie silence fell over the diner, hanging heavy in the air. As the dust began to settle, Claire peered through the chaos. There, lying still on the ground, was a man, a criminal, but also the one she once loved. The world was suddenly too much. She realized this was no ordinary reunion, no simple encounter with a brother. Danny stood before her, face pale, eyes wide. "Claire, you didn't tell me he was dead." Her mouth fell open. "What?" Claire gasped. Claire!" Danny's voice cracked, panic rising. "I thought you knew. The money. It was never just about the cash. It was about him. About us. You somehow got tangled in this mess without knowing." Lucas stared, confusion etching his features. "What the hell is going on?" The pieces of a puzzle she never wanted to solve. began to fit into place. Claire's pulse raced, pain merging with clarity. "They're here because of you and your secrets!" Danny pressed, eyes frantic. "You needed to be part of this world that you tried to escape." And then it hit her hard. All those years, she thought she was safe, living beneath the shadows, unaware of the truth that had silently followed her. Suddenly, Danny stepped forward, urgency spilling from his eyes. "You've been in danger this entire time, Claire. They want you back in their world because you're the key." A sickening twist knotted in her stomach. The truth crashed down like a wave, overwhelming, relentless. Nothing was ever what it seemed, and her life was about to spiral into something darker than she ever imagined. As the sirens wailed in the background, facing her brothers and Lucas, the chilling question loomed in her mind. Who could she trust when everything she thought she knew unraveled like a thread about to break? As the fog thickened, shadowing the town, Claire felt her breath hitch in her throat. Lucas's eyes darted to the window, scanning for danger. She wanted to scream, to warn him, but the words stuck. The figure outside grew clearer, the shape defining itself into a nightmare from her past. A man with a cruel smile, someone who knew too much about her struggles. But before Claire could act, something unexpected happened. The man at the window, her past, a loud crash echoed as he punched through the glass, shattering the diner's peace. People screamed and scattered, chairs clattering as they scrambled to escape. Claire felt the stark contrast of fear envelop her. She turned to Lucas, his expression frozen in shock, the confusion etched deep in his features. "Run!" Claire shouted, not caring if he understood. She grabbed his wrist, the grip tight, urging him toward the back of the diner. The clamor followed them, a cacophony of panic and uncertainty. As they dashed through the kitchen, Claire felt the weight of memories crashing over her like a wave. She thought she had left her past behind. But that man, that horrifying figure, was not just a ghost. He was a reminder of everything she fought against. His voice cut through the noise, venomous and loud. "You think you can escape me? After everything, Claire?" Lucas shuddered beside her. "Who is he?" His voice trembled. "Someone who doesn't take kindly to what I've done to survive," Claire replied, desperation lining her words. They pushed through the back door into an alley, her heart pounding, adrenaline surging. Just as she thought they might be safe, Lucas yanked his arm from her grasp. "Stop!" he shouted, eyes fierce yet bewildered. "What's going on?" Claire turned, ready to confess, to share the dark secrets she kept buried. But then another crash! She glanced back, losing her breath as she saw the man emerge from the shattered glass. He was no longer just a threat. He was wielding a gun, its barrel glinting menacingly in the dim light. It pointed straight at them. "Time to pay your debts, Claire," he sneered, the malice dripping from his words. But then Lucas moved. In a swift motion, he stepped forward, hands raised in surrender. "Please don't harm her!" A strangled laugh erupted from the man. "And who are you? The knight in shining armor? You think she deserves saving?" The truth crashed down hard, like a falling weight. Claire's heart sank. She felt a flicker of warmth for Lucas, but it mixed with bitter confusion. Why would he care? He barely knew her, didn't understand her past. Before she could process anything, Lucas pulled out his wallet, flipping it open to reveal a small badge. "I can help you. Just let her go." A gasp escaped Claire. "You're a cop?" His eyes were wide with urgency. But now, panic crept into them. "Not just any cop," he stammered, voice breaking. "I'm undercover. Their world spiraled as something heavier crashed into her chest. The man's laughter echoed, twisted and cruel. "Well then, this just got a lot more interesting." In a heartbeat, everything shifted. Trust turned to suspicion, wrapped in uncertainty. Lucas wasn't who Claire thought. The ground beneath her rocked, and the weight of betrayal pressed down harder than ever. Fear thundered through the alley as the darkness closed in on them. The only thing clear was that nothing would be the same again. As the shadows deepened, the figure outside the diner grew clearer, stepping closer to the window. Claire's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears. She didn't need to ask. She knew that face, the sharp cheekbones, the eyes like cold steel. Her brother, the very last person she wanted to see. Claire. His voice was a whisper that sliced through the noise of the diner. "You left me." Lucas shifted, sensing the shift in her energy. "Are you okay?" His gentle tone softened, but Claire felt the words jabbing into her. But Claire felt frozen, a statue molded by fear. All those memories rushed back. Arguments, betrayals, the silent nights filled with tension. What could Peter want after all these years? In an instant, he stood in the doorway, his figure tall and imposing. The whispers in the diner vanished, replaced by a thick, nervous silence. His eyes scanned the room, landing on Lucas, and a smirk played across his lips. "You've upgraded, huh? Look at you with a rich guy now." "Shut up," Claire snapped, her voice sharp, the tension crackling in the air. Peter took a step forward, his presence now a looming storm. "You think you can just walk away from me? I've missed you, you know. We have unfinished business." Leaves rustled outside. The streetlights flickered, casting strange shadows. The entire diner seemed to hold its breath. Claire's body was taut with a mix of dread and anger. She wanted to flee, but she couldn't abandon Lucas. "Oh, I'm sure you have plenty to say," Claire shot back, her heart pounding in her throat. "What do you want from me?" "Just a chat," he replied, feigning innocence. But the glint in his eyes told another story. Lucas stepped forward, protective. "Listen, she's not interested. You should leave." Peter laughed, and an unsettling chill settled over the room. "You really think she's safe with you? You think money can save her?" He paused, letting his words hang heavy. "She has secrets. Deep ones." The diner was a stage, and the audience held its breath, waiting. Claire wanted nothing more than to run, but something held her in place. Peter's words struck like lightning, illuminating shadows she'd kept buried. Lucas felt the shift, something raw and terrifying. "What do you mean? What secrets?" "Didn't you know? Claire's running from something more than just her past." Peter's voice dripped with venom. "You think a rich man's hand will rescue her? She's got debts. Debts I'm about to collect." The air shimmered with a surge of shock. Claire's hands clenched into fists, her entire body on fire. "You don't know what you're talking about." But there it was, a flicker of fear in Lucas's eyes, a tiny crack in the foundation they'd built in mere moments. "Claire?" His voice was softer now, almost shattered. "Yes, Claire," Peter rumbled, spitting words like daggers. "You think I'm just the scary brother? No, I'm her only family. I know things about her you can't even imagine." Every word clawed at her, peeling back layers she'd fought so hard to hide. Claire felt the heat of tears prickling at the corners of her eyes, the weight of betrayal hanging like a noose. "Get out!" Claire shouted, voice cracking, fury and fear entwined. "You don't belong here!" But Peter's smile twisted into something darker. "Oh, you'll see me again, Claire. Count on it." With that, he turned on his heel, leaving a trail of tension in his wake. The diner buzzed back to life with murmurs, judgment hanging in the air. Lucas stood frozen, eyes wide, waiting for her to explain, to unearth the truth buried deep within. Claire felt the walls around her heart tightening, choking her with secrets. "Claire," Lucas whispered, anguish lining his voice. And in that moment, everything shifted. The fragile connection they'd begun to forge hung in the balance, teetering on the brink of collapse. Could she reach for it? Or would the shadows of her past swallow her whole? The evening closed in, the fog a menacing presence, wrapping them in uncertainty, as the weight of the future pressed in hard against her chest. As the evening fog crept in, swallowing the edges of the town, Claire's breath quickened. She stared at the shadow outside the diner, the familiar face pressing against the glass. It was Marcus, her brother, one she hadn't seen in years, a ghost she thought had vanished with her past. "Claire!" His voice sliced through the thick air, raw and desperate. People turned to gawk, whispers rising. Lucas shifted beside her, confusion painting his features. But Claire couldn't take her eyes off Marcus. Fear knotted in her stomach. "What are you doing here?" Claire hissed, her heart hammering against her ribcage. "Help!" he shouted, fists banging against the pane. "I need your help, Claire! They're coming for me!" The words hit her like a punch. Instinct kicked in, and she wanted to run, to hide. But something in Marcus's eyes, wild, terrified, held her in place. Deep down she knew. The trouble he brought was destructive, but it was also family. "Marcus!" Lucas se llega, una voz que estaba viva, un canta, se compró, un control, se estupó la puerta de la prisa. Marcus era un desastre. Sacó del pelo. Pequeñitos, porque Clara es pudo. Otra cosa. They know. We need to go. His breath came fast, eyes flitting around as if the shadows held danger. An old woman in the corner gasped, clutching her coffee, and Claire felt the weight of 100 pairs of eyes digging into her, judging her choices, her past. "Hold on!" Claire stepped back, trying to register the chaos. Lucas stood rigid, caught off guard, his brows furrowed in concern and confusion. "Who are you? What did you get mixed up in?" he asked Marcus, and his voice held a waver. But Marcus only laughed, a hollow sound that shattered the silence. "You think it matters? The truth is, they're everywhere," he shouted. "I can't stay. I didn't want this life, but they won't let me go." Claire's heart sank. This was the messy reality she feared. The world she thought she had left behind was crashing back in. The weight of her past was suffocating. "Marcus," she said, voice trembling, "you have no idea what you're dragging me back into." Suddenly, outside the diner, headlights pierced through the fog. They were bright and searching, moving slow and steady. The voices outside quieted, the tension thick. "Claire, we need to move, now!" Marcus's voice shook, urgency digging nails into her skin. But just then, Lucas stepped forward, concern etched on his face, and Claire wanted to scream. "You can't trust him!" Before she could reason, the sound of brakes screeched outside, and a figure emerged from the darkness. A tall man in a dark suit, flanked by two others. They strode toward the diner with an unsettling confidence, and Claire recognized one of them instantly. He was from her past, a face she never wanted to see again. A face lined with secrets. Her heart dropped. One single thought chilling her. They found us. The air crackled with the impending storm. Claire felt Marcus's fear mingling with her own, a terrifying blend of recognition and dread. In an instant, everything she thought she knew flickered like a dying flame. With each heavy step the man took toward the door, Claire realized, this time there was no escaping. Would she choose loyalty to her brother, or the strange connection building with Lucas? Each decision could shatter their world. The tension thickened, and the shadows whispered curses of the past. Watching, waiting, the diner held its breath, and Claire felt the weight of the moment hang in the air like a dark cloud, pregnant with uncertainty. As the diner held its breath, Claire felt a shiver creep down her spine. The shadows loomed as the man approached, his face a mask of predatory calm. Her heart raced, and she dared not look away. Lucas stood rigid beside her, eyes wide, caught somewhere between disbelief and a desperate urge to protect. Marcus fidgeted, his energy chaotic, dragging everyone's attention to the door, like a moth to a flame. Claire just wanted to disappear. As fear gripped her, she sensed danger lurking close, cold and tangible. "Claire!" Marcus shouted again, breaking the fraying silence. "If you care about me at all, you'll listen." The man entered, dark suit pressed, a sharp contrast against the diner's faded decor. His gaze swept the room, settling on Claire with a smirk that twisted her gut. "Ah, family reunions, how delightful," he drawled, voice smooth but dripping with menace. "Get out," Claire snarled, stepping protectively in front of Lucas, whose confusion morphed into anger at the sight of a threat so familiar. But the man didn't flinch. No, he savored the tension like fine wine. "I wouldn't be so defensive, Claire. It doesn't suit you." With a glance towards Marcus, he continued, "I hope you've told your new friend everything, like, oh, say your little secret?" Panic washed over Claire, quickly replaced by a wave of blinding rage. "You don't know anything about me!" A low chuckle escaped the man's lips. "Really? You've always been naive. Running away doesn't erase the past, it simply shrinks it." "She's not running!" Lucas erupted, stepping forward, defiance in his eyes. "You think you can intimidate her? Who do you think you are?" But before Claire could interject, the tension cracked like thunder. A sudden crash echoed through the diner as the back door burst open. A blaring alarm wailed, sirens screaming through the night as flashing lights inundated the diner's windows. The crowd surged back, pulling away from the chaos like a tide retreating from the shore. The strange man shuffled back, eyes narrowing, recalibrating his focus. I see the cops were tipped off about my little visit. With that, he turned, but not before something unexpected happened. From the corner of the diner, a tall figure stepped forward, hands raised, a badge gleaming in the dim light. It was a woman, tough-looking with a determined glint in her eye. "Freeze! Everyone stay where you are!" Her voice cut through the clamor, authority unyielding. As she strode forward, both the man and Marcus shifted nervously. Claire's eyes widened in disbelief as the woman drew closer. Familiarity flickered, a connection she couldn't place until it hit her like a punch. It was Sarah, her long-lost childhood friend, the one who disappeared after the fallout of a disastrous gamble gone wrong. A gamble that starred none other than Marcus. "Sarah?" Claire gasped, stunned. Sarah glanced at her, eyes fierce, unwavering. "Bigger than you know, Claire. They're after your brother for the debts he's accrued. But there's more." As Sarah spoke, whispers erupted around them, mounting tension thick enough to taste. Lucas's gaze shot between Claire and Marcus, trying to piece it together, but a new fear gripped him. "This isn't just about money. The game has changed," Sarah continued, urgency chipping away at her composure. "And Claire, you're at the center of it." The ground beneath Claire spun, and the restaurant seemed to tilt, the walls closing in. "What game, Sarah? What are you talking about?" Marcus's eyes darted, panic igniting behind them. "You can't trust her, Claire. She's a part of this." But it was too late. The words hung heavy, drenched in betrayal. A truth she didn't want to face, lurking in the depths of her memories. In that moment, the only thing clear was that the danger was no longer outside the diner. It was inside, woven deep into the fabric of her life. Lucas's expression twisted into realization, and Claire knew he was reassembling the fragmented truth of her hidden past. Time felt suspended as shadows collided and a shocking revelation bubbled to the surface. Would she stand with her brother, her friend, or the man she barely knew who had inexplicably become her anchor? The air thickened with layers of lies, relationships shifting beneath her like sand. And suddenly, in the pregnant silence of the diner, as everyone held their breaths, a single shot rang out, a deafening sound that shattered everything they thought they understood. Claire's heart stopped, and all she could think was, what next? The loud bang echoed through the diner, a shockwave of sound that froze time. Claire's breath caught in her throat, fear twisting her stomach. The familiar warmth of Lucas next to her flickered like a dying ember as every eye turned toward the source of chaos. The man in the suit staggered back, his expression shifting from surprise to fury. What the hell? But before anyone could move, the diner door burst open and a loud voice filled the air. "Get down, everyone on the ground!" It was another officer rushing in with his weapon drawn, aiming it at the man in the suit. "It's a setup!" he shouted, eyes darting around the room, searching faces. Panic radiated from him, and for a moment, the weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Something shattered within Claire. The past she fought to escape crackled like glass underfoot. Uncertainty flooded her mind, questions racing. Was he telling the truth about her brother? What did any of this mean for her future? The diner erupted into chaos. People dropped to the ground, screams filling the space. Lucas grabbed Claire's arm, pulling her down beside him. We need to get out of here. But panic held her firmly in place. Marcus turned to her, desperation etched into his features. Breaths coming out in quick, frantic gasps. Claire, please, you have to trust me. Trust you? She shouted over the din, tears prickling her eyes. You brought this here. Get them out, now! The officer shouted again, his voice booming as he moved closer to them, finger twitching on the trigger. The threat felt alive, so close, so palpable. But then, a surprise! A figure emerged from behind the counter, hands lifted high, shaking. It was Danny, her brother, the one she thought was dead, standing there, alive. Horror mingled with relief, confusion filling the space around her. How? Why? Danny? Claire's voice cracked, disbelief swallowing her whole. Claire, I'm here to help! But the words were lost in the chaos as he rushed forward. They want you, Claire! You need to get out. Lucas watched, jaw tight, inability to comprehend painting his face. Claire, how many brothers do you have? The tension thickened, the moment stretching. Danny's sudden appearance felt like a cruel twist of fate. The truth shifted in her mind, reassembling. Who was telling the truth? Who was lying? What is going on, Claire? Lucas pressed, panic and confusion battling within him. Then came another blast, the sharp sound of a gunshot. It rang out again. And this time, a scream pierced the air, louder than the sirens outside. It wasn't just the man in the suit. It was Marcus. He fell to the ground, clutching his side, a bright stain blooming against his frayed clothing. Marcus! Claire screamed, instinct pulling her away from Lucas, her heart racing. She made her way toward him, but Lucas caught her arm. Don't! Stay back! The air crackled with chaos, gasps echoing all around. Claire's heart plunged as she realized her brother was now bleeding out before her, and she was powerless to stop it. Claire! He cried, voice strained. Agony etched into his features. You have to listen to me. They want you for what you know. This is the life you'll be stepping into if you don't leave now. But then, another twist. From Danny's corner, an all too familiar face stepped through the door. Sarah, the woman from her childhood, the one Claire never expected to see again. She looked fierce, but her face did not hide the truth. Claire! Sarah's voice rang out, urgency layering her words. You can't trust them, any of them! Everything crashed around her. The pieces of the puzzle, once scattered and out of reach, were now a grotesque image of betrayal and truth entwined. Run, Claire! Sarah yelled, eyes wide ready to protect. But as Claire stood there, breathless, the walls around her began to fold in. She felt the pulse of betrayal alive, the stakes higher than she ever imagined. She turned her gaze between Lucas and Marcus, contemplating. Who was the enemy? Who was the ally? Her world spun out of control like a roller coaster. And as she stood on the edge of the truth, the sirens howling outside and danger inside breathing down her neck, she could only gasp for air, waiting for something to break. And then, from behind the shadows, A voice emerged, cold and calm. You thought this was about money, didn't you? It was never about that. It sent chills racing through her, a truth she didn't want to hear. A loaded silence blanketed the diner. How could it not be about money? With a breath held tight, Claire waited for the other shoe to drop, leaving her heart pounding with dread and anticipation. What was the truth? What came next? Claire's heart thundered in her chest as she watched the chaos unfold. The diner was a cacophony of screams and desperation, but through it all, there was a flicker of clarity in her mind. The man in the suit, the looming shadows of her brother, Lucas's desperate eyes, it all collided into a moment of reckoning. "Claire!" Danny yelled, urgency lacing his voice. "You need to run!" But where? Time felt distorted, stretching and collapsing all at once. She couldn't abandon Lucas. She wouldn't. "I'm not leaving you," Claire shouted, locking eyes with him. "You can't stay here. It's not safe." Lucas grasped her arm tighter, his own panic rising. "You're in the middle of something much bigger than you realize." Before she could speak, Sarah leaped forward, determination shining through her fear. "This isn't the time for fighting, Claire. We have to leave now." She grabbed Marcus, who was struggling to sit up, blood pooling beneath him, as sirens screamed outside. More officers poured into the diner. "Everyone stay down. We've got the area secured." Their voices were authoritative, slicing through the panic. But there was no time. Claire felt the weight of the world pressing down. "Do you have a plan, Sarah? Or are we just going to stand here and wait for the storm to hit?" Sarah shook her head. "There's a back exit. We can slip out before they realize what's happening." The shadows lurked closer, and Claire knew the truth now. It wasn't just her or her brother. This was about survival. The gunshot had changed everything. Lucas's eyes darted around, confusion mixing with anger, pushing her to explain. "Claire!" Lucas's voice brought her back, urgency spilling around them. "We need honesty now! What did he mean about secrets?" But before she could answer, Marcus coughed, blood bubbling on his lips. "Get out of here while you can! Don't risk it for me!" "Marcus!" Claire cried, anguish threading through each syllable. But she had to be strong. "We'll come back for you!" "No!" he shouted, desperation clawing at him. "You have to go! I'll be okay!" They were losing precious seconds! The officers were closing in, and the man in the suit was not done. The tension shifted, and Claire felt fear grab her throat. She had no choice. With a swift decision, Claire turned to Lucas. "Follow me! We're getting out through the back!" Hand in hand, they pushed past the chaos, moving towards the kitchen where Sarah had reappeared, ready to guide them. Claire took a ragged breath, heart racing. They slipped through the door just as the men in suits turned back toward the diner, their intent brewing like a storm. Outside, the air was thick with tension, and the fog rolled in, a curtain hiding their escape. The three of them ran into the night, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Claire felt a mix of fear and relief. Freedom was close, yet so unreachable. "What do we do now?" Lucas panted beside her, struggling to keep pace. Claire squeezed his hand, anchoring herself to him. "We regroup, figure out everything. I have to understand what's at stake." But back at the diner, a voice echoed in the night. "You can't hide forever, Claire. You are part of this story. They ran, feet pounding the pavement. The night swallowed their voices. But in that moment, there was hope. The future was uncertain, but together they were stronger. As the shadows faded, Claire felt a flicker of determination ignite within her. She was done running, but the secrets were still out there, waiting. And as they vanished into the night, one thought lingered. Would they ever truly escape? If you made it this far, it's time to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now. Your support feeds the algorithm, and I want to hear from you. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let's spark a conversation. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Don't wait even a second longer to support the channel. Only true fans know how important this is.